Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Tonight, the message for my show, the title is Stay Home, Save Lives. As we are going into, well, some of us into our fourth week of quarantine. It depends on the state that you're in, whether they've given you some kind of stay-at-home order or not. You are perpetually under the cloud of when will this quarantine period be over? We're going to try to talk about that a little bit today and look at what people are doing to address the pandemic locally, nationally, and across the globe. But first, I want to thank everyone who has been watching and sharing our programs. And of course, I want to invite you to join also our social media. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Join into the conversation. There's a bunch of ways to do it. And of course, during this time, we would love to ask for your support of our nonprofit, Low Power FM community station, so that we can keep bringing you the important reports about the pandemic.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us tonight. Many ways to get a hold of us. We have a call-in line that is basically a message machine. 701-566-0917. Again, that's 701-566-0917. You can leave a message up to 3 minutes. We'd love to hear your beautiful voice. If that's not your thing, you can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can also go to Facebook. Our Facebook page is 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project of Mexi-Can. You can also tweet us at media_PPP. And don't hesitate to go to kpppfm.com. It's our website for our radio station. That's where you can make a tax-deductible donation. Go to kpppfm.com/donate. Make your own donation. Help support us. We are doing daily shows throughout this pandemic, and we'll continue to do our work from home and give you news, information, and some really good research on other topics that we'll be doing a little bit of tonight.
Yes, exactly. And that is going to be a deeper dive into the visit from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to Standing Rock. And I think it's very important to examine everything that happened at Standing Rock, who was with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was filming the crew of people she was with, who was going to be telling these stories. Coincidentally, it appears that a documentary called The Serpent and the Sacred and the Snake will be released. It appears, according to its website, to be in post-production, and it sounds as if it may be getting launched soon for her re-election campaign. So, given the fact that Bernie Sanders and the squad, as they're called, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, etc., the people that are part of the group of the Democratic Socialists of America, that they are all campaigning right now, either for Bernie's presidential run, for AOC's re-election, etc. And they're not really coming up with solutions to this pandemic. They're not really working for the American people right now at a time when we need them to the most. I discussed a little bit about that yesterday. I also talked about how Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has joined up with a group from the Border Support Network called New Sanctuary Coalition. And I talked about how many of the people in its leadership are felons and or under investigation by the Department of Homeland Security for their involvement in a drug smuggling operation as well as attacks on our border. So with all of that, I want to invite you to stay for the last part of our show. The first 30 minutes are going to be focused on pandemic updates, which we promise to bring you daily. But I'm going to take you back after the 30-minute mark into this examination of what happened at Standing Rock with AOC. So let's start off with the world numbers. Here we have the coronavirus global cases. We have 1,426,096 cases confirmed. That went up how much?
26,000 more in a few hours this afternoon.
That's a lot. Oh my goodness. Spain is over 141,000. Italy is over 135,000. France is over 110,000. Germany is over 107,000. And China somehow is at 82,718. Do you believe that number? That low number that China is reporting?
I don't know what to think about China's numbers. There's been speculation that they're padding their numbers low, and because their history shows that. I mean, they hid this from the world for a very long time. So I would not be surprised if they're trying to keep it low and, kind of scamming people to think that, it's just basically going to go away.
It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
It is not going to go away. I think we're going to be in it for the long haul. Here are our U.S. numbers, folks. Right now, we are sitting at 395,644 cases. That's 12,474 deaths. 12,795 deaths. That's what we are at right now. And that's 5,000 more cases, 5,000 plus more cases.
Yes, and 321 people have died in the past few hours in the United States.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And if you think about the numbers of deaths worldwide, it's 81,000. It's over 80,000 deaths in the world so far because of this virus. There are 731 new deaths in New York, 6,000 plus new cases, almost 7,000 new cases. New Jersey is got 229 new deaths and 3,326 new cases. And what are we doing in Minnesota? How are we doing?
Well, in Minnesota, the curve is continually to go up. We have 1,069 positive cases in Minnesota, and there's been a total of 34 deaths. That's very unfortunate. In North Dakota, the cases continue to rise. There's been a fourth death in North Dakota, which is very unfortunate. It just happened last night. And the man was in his 70s from Emmons County with underlying health conditions who acquired COVID through community spread. Also, there's 12 new positives in North Dakota and bringing a statewide total to 237. 82 of those are considered to be recovered. Now in Cass County, of those ones, they came up. Let's see. Here, I'll bring the right one up here. Hold on a second, folks. We basically have a bunch more people in Cass County, and I'm very concerned about that because we have a woman in her 70s, a woman in her 60s, a man in his 40s, a woman in her 20s, a man in his 40s, and so there's still a majority of cases in North Dakota are coming from the Cass County. And just today, the mayor in Fargo, in West Fargo, decided to jump ahead of what the governor was doing and to issue a stay-at-home. Stay-at-home save lives is the theme. And they did a good job and just trying to get the people in Fargo to quit running around playing basketball. The mayor talked about over the weekend, he basically saw 10 people playing basketball at Island Park. And he said, you can't do that. The young people need to not congregate together, be close to each other, and act like this thing's not a big deal. We're seeing more and more cases. The majority of cases in North Dakota are from Cass County, which the largest city in North Dakota is Fargo. And that's why this community spread is spreading, because people aren't taking heed to. They're doing some social distancing, but stay home. don't even go to the store. I mean, it's really hard for people to accept that, and they're not. And that's why we're having the rise in all these cases.
Bristy, one of our listeners, comments that she's very confused about the numbers because the number of deaths and the number of recovered, they don't add up to the total cases, and it was asking for a better understanding. What are your thoughts, Duke? I think, it's very hard to have a raw, clear number given the fact that we don't have the ability to test people.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. I can't answer. I can't really give you a really educated answer to that. I'm watching the numbers, and what I see is things are going up, and people are getting sick. What I'm hoping for is of the people getting sick that they don't die. And if those numbers are less, then I think we're doing good. California has proven just by doing isolation, basically, they've had very few cases. And it's like, wow, if we could just do that for 2 weeks. And so the number's not adding up. It doesn't make me suspicious of anything except, this math problems all the time. There's inaccuracies. I don't think there's scamming us and lying to us about all this stuff. And I tell you the truth, I haven't gotten my calculator out and done that. I'll try it. I'll try it and see if it gives me some suspicion of something.
Well, let me share what our Parks Department is saying about the COVID virus and our floodwaters, which present a danger to adults and children, especially in our parks. You're asked to please stay away from the river and off of the playground equipment. Floodwaters have invaded parks and recreation trails along the river, and during previous spring floods, kids have been observed playing near the water's edge, and people of all ages have conducted unsafe activities like kayaking in the floodwaters.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
No, and the Red River has unpredictable currents, unsanitary water, frigid temperatures, especially at this time of year. So risks could include hypothermia and drowning. So you're asked to please safely keep away from the river and remind your children to do the same. Many people are viewing the river from bridge walkways. While this is fine for the downtown bridge, pedestrians should not use 15th Avenue North Bridge. The railings have been removed due to the flooding. Respect the barricades. As a precaution against the spread of COVID-19, please keep your children off playground equipment. The equipment cannot be sanitized between uses, which may mean infection may be spread to others. And thank you for your cooperation for the health and safety of your children and all our residents.
The Mayor Mahoney actually did address the parks, and he suggested you go ahead, go outside, go for walks. They're going to keep the parks open in Fargo and West Fargo. But he said, you still can't be close to each other. He said that if you drive around the park and there's 10 people together, I mean, it's not going to help. If there's people, stay away from them. There's too many people all spread out all over the park. Don't go there for a while. Wait till people leave. Take your turn. It's Burgum calls it common sense, but it's a common sense based on something we've never experienced before. We've never had to do this, so we don't have a common sense developed for this yet. So people in Fargo, listen to the mayor, the mayors of West Fargo, and the health officials and the park officials that spoke today at a press conference, and heed their warning. And do this because that will stop these cases from increasing in Fargo. If we don't, those cases are going to go up. They're going to go up, and I'll get out my calculator and do the math and make sure it's all accurate. But I know they'll be going up, and we don't want them going up anymore.
Carol comments that her retirement community taped off all of the benches with yellow tape, but a person sat there anyway.
Yeah.
So civil disobedience is the hashtag on that comment.
Yeah.
And people are worried about getting sick from other people that are not following the rules. In telehealth appointments, I wanted to update folks about Family Health Care's new policy. Family Health Care is announcing that they have a new way for their patients to get treatment and care during this pandemic, so that they're keeping everyone safe, and to do that, they've implemented telehealth appointments that allow the providers within the clinic to have virtual visits using a computer or smartphone.
That's great.
During this time, unfortunately, they cannot have the revenue, as most hospitals and clinics, they have had a loss in revenue because of the virus, because of the pandemic. And although the president's task force addressed that they have put out billions of dollars in basically similar Medicare payments to the hospitals and clinics in the form of loans that
Okay.
they would have had that they would normally bill per month. They claim that they really could use our support and donations at this time. So if you wish to donate to Family Health Care Center, you can go to famhealthcare.org and donate there.
And remember, Family Health Care is not a huge corporation like Sanford and
Nope.
all those other hospital we have. It is a community health care clinic that was developed from people in the community. They're not for profit. They don't make billions of dollars off people. They use the money so they can actually, if you pay money, they help fund other people's needs in the community. They're the one place where you can get medical care based on a sliding fee scale on your income, and they'll help you apply for programs if you qualify, and they'll cover you with the health care.
Sheila comments, it takes weeks, if not months, to test negative after being positive for COVID-19. In my county, those quarantined have to show 2 negatives before they go into the recovered database.
Okay.
Well, that might be a reason why the numbers are a little bit skewed. There's all sorts of variables here that we have to take into account. Also, I wanted to mention for our local community that Chris Coburn from Hornbachers has made an announcement that I wanted to share with folks. He says he wants to share some newly implemented changes that they've put into effect. They have added additional hours to our reserved store hours in the morning to serve those who are at the highest risk of catching COVID-19, including those who are over the age of 60. Those guests who are immunocompromised and as well as expecting mothers. Those folks are all invited to shop with Hornbachers between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., ensuring their safety and their well-being. Additionally, in recognition of the tireless effort of their employees over the past several weeks, they will be closed Easter Sunday to give them a day off to relax and to recharge.
Yep.
Woohoo! They are incredibly proud of their team over at Hornbachers, working very hard to keep themselves healthy, well, and rested to ensure that they can continue to serve our community. And also, they sincerely appreciate your support of these initiatives as they work to provide the safest and most comfortable shopping experience possible for those in their community that are in the highest risk. Please continue to help us to provide some additional peace of mind for these guests. Thank you, and stay well. In other words, if you don't meet the categories of over 60, immunocompromised, or pregnant, don't shop from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Right?
Yes, and I think it's so important to have our food, system running right now, because for us to stay home, we need food, and we are ordering it in, having it delivered. Delivery services are great. I appreciate the people that come. I made a place in front of our door that has a tarp, and it says put food here, so it's very clear that they drop things off. No contact with people, wipe everything down. But without the food system, it's going to be really hard. We've started seedlings. It's going to be 90 days before I have something to eat out of the garden. But, we're going to do that now because we believe that this hardship is going to last for a while, and we've got to be prepared.
Yeah, we're going to be planting squash and cucumbers and tomatoes
And peppers.
and lettuce and peppers and what else?
Carrots.
And onions, radishes, garlic. What are you guys going to plant? What kinds of foods are you going to be? Are you going to start a garden? Are you starting a garden? Here's some comments from our YouTube watchers. Make sure to pound the like button, and don't forget you can always add a donation in Super Chat. Charlene Dupuy says, here in Louisiana, we are staying at home. The governor said today there was a 90% percent of people who have the virus are black here in Louisiana. So, but there is a large population of black people in Louisiana. Um, but a large percentage of those that have tested positive for the virus are black. Another comment from Patriotic Vegan. They said, I am an elderly home health care nurse and we are running out of masks. Oh no. Still on back order because they go to hospitals first. We take care of people when discharged from hospitals or sick with wound care. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how worried I am for home healthcare nurses and people working in nursing homes. Patriotic Vegan, my daughter is one of those people, and I am mortified for her night and day. Night and day, because you're right. There is a premium on PPE, personal protective equipment, and most of it is being set aside for hospitals and where, people are intubating people that have COVID-19 and putting them on ventilators. And I understand why they need to reserve all of that for the hospital, but I think that not getting PPE and having rigid protocols at nursing homes, including quarantining, having staff that doesn't leave, that's there for the duration of the quarantine, give them an extra pay bump or something, and don't have people going in and out, because as long as you still have people leaving and coming from nursing homes, it is just a matter of time before somebody catches the virus and brings it in. And folks there that are dealing with folks that are getting discharged from the hospitals, or as Patriotic Vegan mentioned, wound care, they need to be protected, and the residents need to have protection too. That's a very distressing comment, but thank you, Patriotic Vegan, for bringing this up. It's something we do have to talk about. I want to now move to a comment from Alicia. She's saying that she's been saying this all along, that we should all be paying attention to what the politicians are doing and keep it in mind when voting. Speaking of voting, Wisconsin is having a major battle. Wisconsin will hold its presidential primaries today, the first test in what is expected to be a fight over the changing of voting rules during the pandemic. The state Supreme Court on Monday rejected the Democratic governor's attempt to postpone in-person voting, and the U.S. Supreme Court ruled against an attempt by Wisconsin Democrats to extend the deadline for absentee voting. What say you, Duke?
I think this is one of the stupid things you can do in a pandemic is worry about doing a primary. It's a primary. It's not even the real election. I mean, this is, Republican candidates being chosen by the Democrat candidates being chosen by the Democrats, and they're risking each other's lives. I saw a CNN article. I've seen other articles today that I've looked at that, and they've made it very partisan. The Democrats said, let's hold off on the primary, and the Republicans were like, no, we're not going to wait. People are in lines. You saw in that picture we just had on there that they have it all roped up, and people are supposed to be far away from each other. Outside, it's not the same thing. People are piled up. They're getting impatient because they've been waiting outside for hours and hours to get in to vote. So they're getting closer and closer together. Most of them are wearing masks, which is good. There's a lot of mask wearing going on, but this is a waste of time. I believe that it's a waste of a lot of money, and who cares about the election right now? I don't care about the elections. I don't care what the numbers are going to be in that state after tonight. I know they'll be low because people don't want to get infected with this virus. So why put people in that position that they feel compelled to go do their patriotic duty, their constitutional duty, and vote? We've got to figure out what we're going to do in the fall if this virus keeps on going the rate it is. And so we have a lot of discussions to put better time into something that actually is more meaningful. That's what I think.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. And I'm worried about how things are going to go in other states, if this is an indicator of what we can look forward to. Shout out to Charlene Dupuy. Thank you so much for your support. Much appreciated. Moving on to the UK, Boris Johnson, Prime Minister, moved into intensive care, and the foreign minister was deputized. The Prime Minister is in a debilitating battle after contracting a virus he initially viewed with characteristic nonchalance. This is from, I believe, the New York Times.
Nonchalance.
Well, I feel very concerned for the Prime Minister and any world leader, especially right now, because people are looking to their leaders, and I think that will have a very devastating impact if we begin to lose world leaders to this virus. But what can we learn from the past pandemic? We need to take a look at that. I want to show you a graphic for manufacturing employment from the 1918 Spanish flu that shows a chart for the manufacturing employment between 1914 and 1919. And it compares the cities of Minneapolis to St. Paul, which with Minneapolis having a longer intervention, meaning they shut down their city or shut down their work sooner, and they were unemployed for a longer period of time, and St. Paul had a shorter intervention. Cleveland and Pittsburgh are side to side. Again, Cleveland having a longer intervention while Pittsburgh had a shorter one, and a side-by-side of San Francisco and Los Angeles, with Los Angeles having a longer intervention than San Fran. So what can we learn from this chart? Well, what we can know from this chart is that it appears that longer interventions did not have a long-lasting impact on the economic bounce back.
Okay.
And this is an important thing to think about, because I know as people are struggling with this issue, including our president, they want to reopen the economy, they want to get back to work, everybody wants to go back to life the way that it was. But the reality is that having a longer intervention saves lives. I'm going to keep repeating it because I think it's so important to note the difference between New York or, a big city like San Francisco, and because San Francisco has over 900,000 cases, 900,000 residents, and they only have 8 cases of death. So, and they were one of the first cities to shut it down. And I think that what we can tell from the Spanish flu's interventions by different cities is that taking the time to quarantine for longer periods of time and save more lives, in the end, is going to have minimal effect on the bounce back to the economy. And finally, I want to share with you.
Well, hold on before you move on. I wanted to say,
Yes,
speaking of economy, Charlene, thank you for your contribution on YouTube Super Chat.
Yep.
It's we know it's difficult right now because people aren't paying their rent. People aren't working. This whole stimulus check thing is still up in the air. There's a lot of doubt around that. The numbers don't match on that either. And, we understand the struggle, but we're going to keep on moving forward. And we just thank you for your generosity.
Yes. And I wanted to share with you how we can get back to a normal. There are 4 benchmarks that we should be looking for to let us know that we're going to get on the road back to normal again. We're not there yet, folks, but here are the 4 benchmarks that some researchers have outlined that we need to see happening in the United States in order for us to know we're on the road back. First of all, hospitals have to be able to safely treat all patients that require hospitalization without resorting to crisis standards of care. That means having adequate beds, ventilators, staff, equipment, etc. Right? Number 2, authorities must be able to test everyone who has symptoms. Not just everyone who traveled, not just anyone who came into contact with someone that tested positive, but everyone with symptoms, and to get reliable results quickly. That would be more than 750,000 tests a week in the U.S. We're not there yet. Number 3, health agencies must be able to monitor confirmed cases, trace contacts of the infected, and have at-risk people go into isolation or quarantine. And finally, number 4, there has to be a substantial reduction in cases for at least 14 days in a row.
Okay.
Because it can take that long for symptoms to appear. So those are the things that we need to be seeing in order for us to know that we are starting to reduce the numbers and that we're on our way back to normal life.
Okay, so it's going to take some time.
It's going to take some time.
Some time instead of just one day, numbers start dropping. You can't celebrate until it goes on for 2 weeks.
No, and here's the thing. A lot of people are thinking, because they're listening to what the Surgeon General has said, and they've heard the president say he wants to reopen the economy and that we have to go back to normalcy soon, etc., that we are going to do that we're going to be in it for a couple of weeks. And I believe, and this is just my personal opinion, okay? I believe that the numbers are not, 100%. We can't rely 100% on the numbers because we don't have the testing and we don't have the ability to put people on the recovered list for the reasons have been stated in the past, etc. Also, I think the models that are being used by the White House, the model that's being used by most people is very, very conservative. And I think that it tries to err on the side of hopefulness rather than doom and gloom.
Yep.
And unfortunately, what that means is that, this is going to be going on in different places in our country at different times for a much longer period of time than 2 weeks. And I mentioned yesterday that I believe that we will not be peaking in this area until the 4 to 6 week mark away. So I recommend for people to hunker down and get ready for the long haul rather than the short term 2 week period that is being discussed. And one of the reasons for that, I think that, I would rather know. I'm a planner. I like to know what's coming. I like to know what's ahead. And so I plan if I know exactly what I'm expecting. And I think it's important to tell people as close to possible as you can, exactly what is headed for them so that they can prepare for it. I think not doing so doesn't allow us to mentally and physically prepare in terms of getting resources, etc. But I understand why maybe our president or other authorities in government, local, state, federal, aren't doing that, aren't hitting that panic button. I mean, look what we did with toilet paper across the country.
Exactly.
Look what we've done with all sorts of other cleaning products. People are too easily whipped into a panic, and then, of course, they behave like COVIDiots. So we don't want that either. I can understand why people are taking, especially the president, has taken a very hopeful approach. He's trying to be responsible about what he says in public that could set off a panic. And I think that that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
So for some levity, I want to bring you a special report from my sister-in-law, Jeannie, your sister, Duke.
Yeah, that's right.
Reporting in Minot,
North Dakota.
Minot, North Dakota. Here's an interview that she did on her way to work.
Yes, she is.
With a bunch of turkeys.
There we go.
Oh, it's not playing.
Guys. Are you social distancing? I don't think so. What do you think of this coronavirus? Say that again? What do you think of coronavirus? Yep, I agree.
I've watched this video on loop like 30 times, and I still laugh every single time I see it.
Yep.
It's just the kind of interview that we need. I hope that Jeannie goes out and interviews the turkeys on a daily basis.
Yes, that would be great to have updates on that.
Yeah, I would love to get an update. Okay, folks, so here is the part of the show where we're going to go back in time and analyze everything that happened at Standing Rock. Why am I talking about this now? Well, All of these con artivists and COVIDiots are out there trying to make money off the pandemic. One of them being Vanessa Bolin, who I showed you yesterday, is spewing this propaganda from the Antifa-led Border Support Network activists. And as you can see, back at Standing Rock, she went by Vanessa Red Bull Cherokee from the Cherokee. Her name is Bolin Clemens.
Yeah.
A lot of these folks didn't like to use their full names or didn't like to refer to their real names, which is why they had names like Vanessa Red Bull. And they actually printed this nonsense in articles. She's wearing a stethoscope around her neck
Yeah.
and trying to look like some kind of, really.
The medical personnel on hand at any moment. You need a Band-Aid? I have one.
Right, exactly. She's not saying that now as she's spreading nonsense on her Zoom calls with the likes of Laura Christina Livingston Berger,
Right.
another Border Support Network activist who was very heavily involved in the group of people that went down to Mexico and that were coaching people to seek asylum in the United States. Why are these folks being silent now about their so-called medical backgrounds during a pandemic? Because they're actual cowards. They don't really want to help people. They want to help themselves. And let me remind you, especially for those of you who've never heard of my research on these folks going back to Standing Rock, that they made reports, Vanessa Red Bull included, to the police. This is an excerpt from the police report. In it, I want you to notice some of the people that made reports and how they're listed by the police. Vanessa Red Bull, no last name, no full name is listed, and it says medic. And the report states that on December 17th, she was asked to check on an elderly female. Upon entering the woman's tarpy, she found her lying in an outdoor-style chair. She said it was very cold inside. She began her assessment and found her to be slightly hypothermic, dehydrated, and malnourished. The ambulance was called to transport her to the hospital. There are another three women listed here, all of whom also had something to do with filing a report that put an innocent woman in jail and took her mother, left her in a hospital where they neglected her care and put her in an early grave. Olive it just says women's security. That woman referred to there as Olive is named Olive Bias. And it says here that she reported that she and Messiah were patrolling as part of the camp security on December 6th, actually December 7th.
2016, by the way.
This is all in 2016, when they entered the Tarpey, and they claimed also that she was not being properly cared for, that she was not being properly treated. Messiah from the women's security and Olive both give reports that accuse Kathleen of not taking care of her. And finally, we have another medic named Sarah Matuzak, who also said she responded to a call at the grandmother's Tarpey in the evening. It doesn't say what date, and this was actually reported on December 1st, and that she examined this woman's laceration and helped her into an ambulance. So
these are all lies, people. You go back to our website, kpppfm.com, and go way back to 2016, and we did about 6, 7, 8 months of programming on this story as it was happening, all the way to the trial of Kathleen Bennett, where she was basically exonerated and raised money for the legal defense fund and did a bunch of work because these people just lied and lied and lied, and really sloppy police work. And it's an incredible story.
Yes, but the reason that I find it very interesting and important for you to notice this is because of the way that people claiming to be medics, claiming to be EMTs, claiming to have some kind of medical background or being part of the camp's security, and I'm using air quotes for those who can't see me, because many of these people had no such certification, training, or background. They just claimed it. They didn't actually have it. And what they actually did while they were at camp is endanger the lives of other people, including Kathleen Bennett and Mary Trujillo, many of these people have blood on their hands for putting that woman in an early grave, for what they did to Kathleen and for what they did to many other people. They didn't just kick out Mary and Kathleen from this camp. A lot of other people were strong-armed out of the camp. A lot of other people were robbed. A lot of other people were assaulted. And the people that were involved in what happened to Kathleen and Mary went on later on to commit more crimes, including assault, sexual harassment, rape, and a whole host of other horrible crimes. So I want to share with you who some of these people are. I want you to jump to the charge and show folks that this story made national news, and the people that were involved in charging Kathleen Bennett and taking her mother away wanted to make themselves heroes based on this story about a woman charged with abusing her mother at a pipeline protest camp in Cannonball, North Dakota. A woman was charged for abusing her elderly mother while the two were at an encampment when protesters of the Dakota Access Pipeline were staying. 58-year-old Kathleen Bennett of Las Vegas was charged by Morton County with endangering a vulnerable adult. According to the Bismarck Tribune, authorities say that Bennett's 82-year-old mother was discovered on December 6th and was zip-tied to a wheelchair. She was evacuated to the Prairie Knights Casino during a blizzard and got lost in the shuffle. Then on December 17th, she was found again, this time in a cold, cluttered teepee. Police say that she had numerous bruises and other medical issues. An arrest warrant was issued for Bennett. A working number for her wasn't immediately available. Now, this was printed. This was national news. And the people that accused her, Bill Runningfisher, Mulaney Stoneman, and Christina Hollenbeck, all of those people that I reported on long, long ago, they were directly involved with filing the false police reports and having the charges brought against Kathleen Bennett that put her in jail and took her mother away and gave guardianship to Melanie Stoneman. I want to share with you some of the people in the Sacred and the Snake documentary and pictures that have been posted by the director on their page who are going to be in this film. Could you go to the Sacred Snake post screenshot? It's the one right next to this. I wanted to show this photo to people so that they can get an idea of what I'm talking about. This is from the Facebook page of The Sacred and the Snake, which is the name of the documentary in which apparently Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to be featured. And she's quoted here as saying, "I first started considering running for Congress at Standing Rock. It was really from that crucible of activism where I saw people putting their lives on the line for people they've never met and never known. When I saw that, I knew I had to do something more." December 22nd, 2016. And you see that there is a close-up shot of Cortez, a picture of Susana Sandoval, which I've shown you many times, and another picture of people that were inside of this dome along with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm going to show you close-ups of these pictures, and I'm going to show you the people that are commenting, the people that are part of this group. And one of those people, besides Susana Sandoval, who Ocasio-Cortez interviewed in her only interview that she did while at the camp, the person that she is standing next to there is a man by the name of Regis Furland. And I'm going to show you who he is by using a video from The Real News in which he appears as one of the people that did security. Let's see how many other people we recognize from camp. Ready? Here we go. And of course, they're always asking for donations. Frontline Barricade. Susie Yazzie. Her name is Vanessa Dundon. And she is with AIM. This is Regis Furland.
Mark Ruffalo's presence was great today. Their support's greatly appreciated. Also, the attention that they're able to gain from media that we're not getting was just amazing in itself.
There's Jesse Jackson. And there's Susana Sandoval's head right under the Jesse Jackson's megaphone.
I think for myself,
there's Dee Dee Banerjee.
And talking to the people in camp,
Dee Dee Banerjee was another so-called nurse.
They know major media is not.
And I don't think that people that were involved or engaged
a long time ago that
with people that committed kidnapping of Kathleen Bennett, with people that were selling drugs at the camp, with people that were bringing weapons into the camp. I don't think those people are health care workers. I don't think that those people are considered helpers.
Absolutely horrific show of.
There's Frank Archambault. He is a registered sex offender. He's a registered pedophile. And he was in charge of one of the security teams
I'm pretty sure
that this woman was also closely connected to. And so were all of these people in the group with Regis Furland.
Like here more with mainstream media, and we greatly need that.
There's Susana Sandoval right in front of Jesse Jackson, just like she was standing right in front of AOC in the pictures that I showed you from the Sacred and the Snake. This is a movie set, people.
We encourage any and all people to come.
This is a movie set, people. And I'm going to be doing more backgrounds looking into the background of a lot of the people that I'm showing on my program today. So I hope that you're all taking notes and helping me parse out who we need to look into a little bit deeper. Here is Susana Sandoval and Regis Furland. She is right in front of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and right in front of Susana Sandoval in that red jacket is Regis Furland, the man you just saw talking in the video. You recognize him? Mm-hmm. Okay. You know what else Regis Furland is part of? Red Rum. You know what Red Rum is, don't you, Duke?
Yeah, it's a motorcycle club that is supposed to be protectors of indigenous, but you can be white.
But also
granted status as a Indian.
It's a motorcycle club or a society, as they call themselves, and they are also responsible, if you will recall, for being the sponsors of the Indigenous Peoples March / Indigenous Peoples Movement, led by Chase Iron Eyes and many of the Standing Rock phonies, especially those that brought you the Nathan Phillips hoax against the Covington Catholic High School kids. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Red Rum was part of it. Here's another picture with his motorcycle buddies of Red Rum, and they've got their motorcycle jackets on. They're very proud of that. And there's Regis Furland standing behind Congresswoman Deb Haaland, who was also part of the debacle that happened out at the Indigenous Peoples March, as well as people from the Border Support Network, because you see, they're one and the same. You see, they're married. They're together. They work together. Now, who else was Regis Furland hanging out with? And I mean hanging out with, like they was close. They were hanging. Melanie Stoneman, the kidnapper, the woman who took custody of Mary Trujillo and put her in an early grave. This woman, this criminal, Melanie Stoneman, her daughter, her family, her crew were all in that security team that helped kidnap Mary Trujillo. They helped to keep Kathleen Bennett away from her family. And this is her daughter, one of the people that participated Her name is Lacey. Her name is Lacey, not Evelina Malin Grace Redest, but Evelina Malin is the name of her daughter, of Lacey's daughter, who, by the way, was a toddler that she left at home alone with Mulaney so she could go out and do security at the camp with the likes of Regis Furland. You can see they're quite cozy in that picture. Lacey Williams is part of the crew of people that were at the hospital, and that were constantly watching and monitoring the family at the hospital up until the day that they were able to put in for their emergency request for guardianship that Melanie got for the care of Mary Trujillo. And Regis Furland's group was the Michigan camp. There they are in the Michigan camp tent. And the guy that's right directly at the bottom in the middle of the picture, kind of, I don't know what that is. Is that a barrel? Looks like some.
It's a stove, yeah.
It's a stove. Okay, so the guy that's right in the middle there is, and with the beanie, is Regis Furland. And on his right is a guy named Eric Johnson, Eric S. Johnson, a.k.a. Mowgli, or Rogue Mowgli. That was his camp name. All these people had aliases and camp names, and Rogue Mowgli was one of the people that made statements against Kathleen Bennett. Here is Regis hosting a GoFundMe to the tune of $20,000, 13,000 of which had already been raised, to go and set up the tent that you see there in the picture in which they were all inside in that photograph. That's the tent that they were staying in. So he raised money from somebody else named who? Who was that person that he made the beneficiary? Adam Somick. So they raised this money and went out and stayed at the camp. They were supposedly going out there to help. They were supposedly going out there to protect people. And what they did was participate in the kidnapping of Mary Trujillo and many other crimes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But this one in particular, I have the receipts for. And here is the report of so-called Mowgli. Again, not his real name, and he claims to be part of security. What he said in his statement against Kathleen Bennett was that he responded to an incident by the Black Hills community on December 1st, and that he was changing his tire when he heard yelling coming from a tarpy. And he saw the two women that were yelling was an elderly woman who kept yelling stop, and another one who kept telling her to shut up and be quiet. And when he went over and asked, he was told that nothing was going on, everything was okay. He went into the tarpy after a bit and was asked to come in. And when he entered, he observed an elderly woman that had a bandage on her face. And when he asked what the bandage was from, he was told that a man had entered the tarpy and assaulted the elderly woman with a shovel and had ransacked the tarpy, and that Mowgli had peeled the bandage off, and in fact, it appeared to be a wound caused by a shovel. What kind of a person? I mean, what do you think, that we're watching a Roadrunners cartoon where people have the shape of the anvil or the shovel in their face?
Mm-hmm.
These people made up reports that were handed into Morton County out of whole cloth. They invented the whole thing. This is Mowgli, where you can see his face, and it is posted by none other than the director of the documentary Sacred and the Snake, in which Ocasio-Cortez is going to appear. And as you can see, he is called a water protector.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, this is Terrell. Excuse me. This is Terrell. This is Terrell Ironshield. It says there, right there on his name. Next is another one with Jonathan Klett. And this one is Lacey again with Regis. This time they're in a hotel room, hanging out at the casino. So you can see these folks were relatively close.
Mm-hmm.
Here is Mulaney giving her report to the police, along with Christina Hollenbach and Bill Runningfisher. All three of them were involved in making accusations of elder abuse by Kathleen Bennett, none of which happened. And here is Mulaney's daughter with Mowgli, I think that's Mowgli, smoking. No, that's not Mowgli. I'm sorry. Here's Lacey with Regis and Mowgli. Yes, that is Mowgli. Okay, go back to the other one. Lacey smoking. Yep, that's Mowgli. Now, here's another one. Mowgli again. Now, here is, and then there, he looks like he's, pretty close to Lacey, like maybe they were having a relationship at the time.
Yep.
And I wanted to show you this other picture of a guy who, he's got a weird hat on. His name is Steven.
Oh, it's not there.
And Steven is called a veteran. Steven is considered to be a veteran. And here is a picture of Sacred and the Snake group picture. I guess we don't have that other picture.
Yeah.
But this is the group picture from the Sacred and the Snake photos that were released. And you can see there's a pretty large group of people. I'm going to point out some of who they are. This is Ramon Reyes, and this is Angry Bird. James White is Angry Bird, and Ramon Reyes is also known as DJ Grizzly or DJ Grizz, just so you know. These are all people that were in the tent. These are all people that were part of the crew, most likely associated with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez while she was at Standing Rock. And I wanted to show folks that remember what these folks went on to do after camp, a picture of Mike Fassig, Derek Fassig, who were all part of that same security crew. Grizz and Angry Bird were on the same security crew as Lacey, as Mike Fassig, as Aubrey Peckham, as Ed Higgins, as Jonathan Klett, all the people that were surrounding Ocasio-Cortez. Here's a picture of Lacey after they kidnapped Kathleen's mother in the hospital cafeteria with Grizz, the man pictured in the photo that you just saw. Can you go back to that other photo so people can see what he looks like? That's Grizz wearing the glasses and the bald head. This is him up close with Lacey. Here at the hospital, he's got a tattooed head. You see that tattoo on his head? So his father, Miguel Reyes, posted this picture of Lacey at the hospital. Miguel Reyes is the father. Remember that. He's obviously there taking the picture. He posted it on December 19 at the hospital as they are watching over the family. Unwanted, by the way. Nobody asked them to be stalkers at the hospital after they forced this woman to be taken to the hospital so they could kidnap her away from her family. And they're having a good old time. They're smiling. They're happy. Here is Mike. You skipped over Mike. Derek Fassig. It's before Ramon Reyes. It's Mike, Derek Fassig, Aubrey. There we go. That one right there. Here's a picture of what they went on to do later. From all the way to the left, I guess is it their left? Yes, is Derek Fassig. He's the one that has the tattoo on his face. He is now in prison for raping Lacey. Right around the date of May 29th.
And kidnapping her, too.
And in 2016, yes, kidnapping her. But also involved in the kidnapping are Mike Fassig, the father, and the woman, Aubrey Peckham, standing next to him. Mike Fassig, the father, was known as one of the Akichita, and he was the second-hand security person to Rattler, otherwise known as Michael Marcus. And, of course, you see Lacey pictured there as well. All of these people were involved in a kidnapping and a rape for which that young man was convicted. And those other people, Aubrey Peckham, Mike Fassig, that participated in that, they didn't have anything happen to them. Here's Ramon Reyes with Christina Hollenbeck, the lady that you just saw making and filing a false police report. The redhead in the picture. And there is the dad and the mom of Ramon Reyes, all of whom apparently seem to be involved in the kidnapping that happened to Kathleen Bennett's mother. And I wanted to share with you that since then, DJ Grizz, he has a poster out for his benefit here. Here's the poster. And next we have the benefit concert that he did. Here it is for Butterflies with Borders. Butterflies with No Borders. There's DJ Grizz.
Okay.
See, and who's posting it in the Border Support Network? Susie Desbaugh.
Oh, my God.
She used to be Susie Yazzie. Then she changed into Susie Desbaugh. Then she became, but she's actually Vanessa Dundon. These are the people that continue to support the Border Support Network and work on the smuggling apparatus that is prolific throughout the Border Support Network. Here's Sacred and the Snake screen capture. This is the Sacred and the Snake movie page. And on it, you will see 3 women at the top. The middle woman is actually a white woman that decided that she was Cherokee while she was at camp. She had never before even realized that she was an Indian, like so many of these fake Indians. And she just started singing and dancing in Lakota. And she had a Lakota marriage to Rattler, Michael Marcus. These people wanted to play Indian so bad, it was disgusting. The reason that I showed you that is because at the time that this man was filming, Jonathan Klett was filming his little rinky-dink propaganda film for Ocasio-Cortez and all of these other swindlers and frauds, I was informed by Maggie Day not to release reports that were going to feature and expose the fraud, the graft, the lies, and the complicity in the crime against Kathleen Bennett and her mother in my shows. And those 3 people were Sarah Matuzak, Vanessa Red Bull Bolin Clemens, and Olivia Bias. Olive Bias, the woman that you saw in that film page. And here is the reporting of one of their media partners, TYT's Jordan Sheridan, from the courthouse on the day that they were hearing or that they convicted Michael Marcus, Olive Bias's Lakota husband. And right behind her is that same redheaded woman who was working with the Water Protector Legal Collective, and she and Olive Bias walk out of the courthouse in distress.
Wow.
Here they are standing outside in front of the courthouse singing, and you see Olive Bias standing next to some other woman, and next to them, in the middle kind of, with the bandana on his head, is Mowgli. This is all on the same day. Here's Olive Bias in an article where she is referred to as a Cherokee. She is whiter than white. She doesn't have Cherokee. She doesn't, and if she does, she doesn't represent Cherokee natives. She doesn't represent indigenous people any more than some of these other pretend Indians like Desiree Kane do. They're pretend Indians. They play at Indians. They play them on the documentaries that they created with all of these criminals. Again, I wanted to remind you, Christina Hollenbach gave a false police report to Morton County. She collected the false police reports of other individuals who gave false police reports, all to build a case to take an elderly woman with dementia away from her daughter and make themselves the heroes of a story where they protected an elderly woman who would never be able to contradict their lies. An elderly woman with dementia who would never be able to contradict their lies. And Kathleen Bennett, they hoped, would be behind bars, so she would never be able to tell on them either. Here's that veteran that I told you about with the weird hat, with Lacey Williams, the daughter of Mulaney Stoneman, in the parking lot of the hospital on December 17th. That is the day that Kathleen's mother was taken from her and that Kathleen's mother was kidnapped. I want you to go back to the police report for just a second.
Okay, one moment.
I want you to show the police report just a moment, the Christina police report, because I want you to know what it says. That on December 17th, Christina and Bill went to the Tarpey. They found Mary in an Arctic sleeping bag and only wearing a sweater. They called medics, which is Vanessa Red Bull Bolin, and another woman named 8-Ball, and checked Mary out and recommended that she go to the hospital. Christina told Kathleen that Mary needed to go to the hospital and that they were taking her. At that point, Kathleen got upset, called 911 to say that they were kidnapping her mom, because they did. Christina said they did not try to stop Kathleen from making the 911 call. Actually, they did try to stop her, which is a crime, but nobody ever got charged for that. She said that she did get into an argument about taking Mary, but that she felt that it was in Mary's best interest to go to the hospital. Kathleen finally relented and let Mary go to the medics, with the medics. And the only reason that Kathleen relented was because there was a big security guy that was there, according to Kathleen Bennett and her son, that was threatening, that was making her, forcing her to let them take the mother. And that was Regis Furland. Regis Furland, the person standing next to Ocasio-Cortez, is one of the people that participated in the kidnapping on the day of this report, along with a whole bunch of other people, many of whom I was able to interview. And Lacey, of course, was in the hospital parking lot on the day of the kidnapping. There she is on the day of the kidnapping. I'm sure she's there along with Mulaney Stoneman. They're just having a good old time. This is all in the commission of a crime that they all participated in against two elderly Oglala Lakota women, some of the most vulnerable people that they could find. Easy targets that couldn't defend themselves. Team Snake, this is Team Snake, they call themselves, the Sacred and the Snake team that filmed this colossal, I don't know what else to call it, but a turd. And Jonathan Klett is there, and so is Sarah LaFleur Vetter. Sarah LaFleur also got herself arrested at Standing Rock. Both of them, as you can see from the bios here, worked for The Guardian. Plus, Jonathan Klett also produced for The Fusion, director of photography for The Fusion and AJ Plus. Voces de la Frontera, which means voices from the border. This is in 2016, before the caravans, before any of that. He was for Voices for the Border. And he was the production coordinator and archivist at the Kennedy Center Honor Films. This man claims that he went to Standing Rock. All of these filmmakers, as you can see, they're a bunch of white people. There's an Asian guy, two white people, and they were telling a story for Native Americans, supposedly. This is the movie that we are anticipating that's going to come out. They just recently posted these pictures. They had never posted these pictures in 4 years. They posted them on their Sacred and Snake Facebook page. They kept this quiet this whole time. And not until very recently was a book that contained some of the story of what AOC did at Standing Rock released. And now, apparently, this movie is in post-production and about to come out. What is the movie about? The movie is about Standing Rock, obviously, a Lakota matriarch, a non-binary Appalachian, and a Jicarilla, Apache, and Navajo youth leader joined the resistance against the pipeline. They each discover their power within the movement that echoes worldwide. But as each returns home determined to break the cycle of intergenerational trauma and abuse, they realize their battle has just begun. The Sacred and the Snake focuses on how the experience of collective trauma, cultural self-discovery, and nonviolent direct action catalyzed an array of other resistance movements across the country. I want to vomit. Please make it stop. I want to vomit because it says we're a collaborative of filmmaking team, a collective of non-native and native filmmakers working alongside a group of indigenous advisors. You mean criminals?
Yeah.
You mean criminals and politicians? That's who you were advised by. That's who you were working around. That's who you protected and defended. Jonathan Klett, director of this film, boyfriend to Maggie Day. This is from his own LinkedIn, and it says that he is the filmmaker and video journalist. I don't think this guy's had a serious job in a day in his life. Mm-hmm. These are a bunch of rich, privileged kids that wanted to go play music festival Coachella with Standing Rock, yep, and use it as a platform to give a creation story to crappy politicians like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And that's the truth. That's the reality. Here is the great Messiah. This is the person that you saw with olive bias in that police report, making false police reports against an innocent woman, who, by the way, spent 6 months in jail before being released by the work of our station. Jonathan Klett also posts about Messiah more recently and Greta Thunberg in the photo I showed you, because guess what? After Standing Rock, after making this documentary film, after the nonsense and the participation that he and Maggie Day, the PR person, and Seven McDonald and Wes Clark and TYT and all of those horrible people had in imprisoning an innocent woman and putting her mother in an early grave, they went on to continue to work with these same activists, these con artivists, by filming them and photographing them and supporting them. And so, of course, and this is why I brought down the whole Greta Thunberg thing, because I saw who they're working with, and it stinks to high heaven, if you ask me. I wanted to show you Messiah's report to the police and how it was collected by none other than the blonde Christina Hollenbeck. Here is her report on Mary Trujillo. And as you can see, she claims that before they left Mary's Tarpey, when they were doing welfare checks, her and Olive going from Tarpey to Tarpey, checking on people, they were looking at her and lifted her sleeve and saw bruises on her wrist. And they made all of these things up in order to frame an innocent woman with no evidence. All they had as evidence to take away this woman's mother and put her in the care of Mulaney Stoneman, who robbed her bank account. Is these statements from all of these liars. Who else is Jonathan Klett associated with on his page? Izzy Hernandez, the person that I interviewed, the person that was arrested with a bag of drugs and a bag of money that he and Mike Fassig's son stole, reportedly from Chase Ironiz's daughter's tent, tarpey, teepee, whatever it was. Here he is commenting on Jonathan Klett's page. And here is Regis Furland again, proudly riding around on his bike. Remember, he's the Red Rum. He's the security. Before they pulled the Nathan Phillips hoax at the Indigenous Peoples March, Regis Furland was stealing Kathleen Bennett's mother and putting her in a hospital so she could be neglected. This is the kind of security they do. Yeah. Regis Furland is now working on missing and murdered Indigenous women's cases. Here he is promoting that work with Red Rum hashtagged and a Warriors for the People. You're not a warrior for the people, Regis. You put the life of a woman in jeopardy by throwing her in jail. She was going to stay there for 15 years had it not been for us exonerating her. All of these people that participated and took that woman away from her mother, you helped to put her in an early grave. Here's the back of their creepy motorcycle gang jackets, Red Rum. I've showed you all of these before. And another picture, another person likely featured in Jonathan's propaganda film is this woman who we saw in Puerto Rico going by the name of Mikenge Gwaki. I can't remember. She just gave herself an Indian name. White people loved giving themselves Indian names. Her name is actually Kayla Hassig. And she went to Puerto Rico to rip people off along with Ed Higgins and a whole bunch of other of these con artivists that I have told you. Most of them are probably featured in this movie, as is actor Mark Ruffalo, who you saw in the video previously with Regis Furland. All of these people working together, Francis Fisher, Mark Ruffalo, all of the actors, including Jesse Jackson, all of these people that have been involved in that horrible scheme that happened at Standing Rock and the schemes that went on afterward in Flint, Michigan, at other protest camps, and the schemes that happened at the Indigenous Peoples March that happened during the Border Support Network and the caravans, and that continued to go on long after the camp was closed. Here's Jonathan Klett traveling with some of the people in the youth groups, including the girl with the white glasses back there all the way in the back. Her name is Erin Weiss. Erin Weiss is tagged in there. And this is from 2018. That's 2 years after the camp closed. He's still traveling around with the people that went to that climate change thing in Paris. Was it in Paris or
I think so.
Spain? No, it was in Spain.
Okay.
And do you recognize who else was there? Remember, Greta Thunberg was there. Messiah was there. And this picture holds another person that was there. That's Casey Camp Corniak. The lady in the dress with the long braids in the front. You recognize her?
Yes.
Casey Camp Horniak. She's the one that started crying at that climate change thing that I showed you, where Greta Thunberg was. Remember, they protested and they made a big stink. That's what they do. That's all they do. They create this theatrics. They cry. They make up all this stuff like Mama LaDonna did to get people to come to a camp, promising them that they were on her land when they weren't. They were on private land. And then they had to take them all out of there. Here's Erin Weiss visiting Bernie Sanders with LaDonna.
Oh, boy.
Because they have connections to Bernie Sanders, to Bernie Sanders' campaign, to the Squad, to the Democratic Socialists of America. These are the people that helped put on the whole camp and that helped cover up and protect the people that committed this heinous crime against Kathleen Bennett and her mom. And all of these folks that were involved hid and covered it up. Here's Jonathan Klett with a damaged foot on a train on the same day with his camera as all the pictures were taken of Casey Camp Horniak, Erin Weiss, and all of those young Indigenous activists. I told you that LaFleur got arrested. She went to court. She got off, actually. She got off. The Water Protector Legal Collective was defending a lot of these activists / actors that were staging all of these events where they clashed with the police and went to jail. They didn't defend people like Kathleen Bennett. They didn't defend many people who, through no fault of their own, got wrapped up in the nonsense and the theatrics and the crimes of these individuals. And afterwards, remember the guy that was interviewed by AOC, the Marine or what was he? He was some kind of army, something. And he talked really, really slow. Armando Tellez.
Yep.
All of those people, including LaDonna, all went on a trip to Hawaii. That was after the camps closed, long after the camps closed in 2017. And there they all of them together, the people that participated along with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the Bernie Sanders campaign, etc. Here is Vanessa. By the way, this picture that you just looked at was posted on this post. The Hawaii picture, it was posted on this post of Jonathan Klett's page. I just want to make clear that the guy that directed the movie that AOC is in had these folks posting on his page. He posted a picture of Indigenous runners, and then you see Jacelyn Charger post the picture, praying for you from Hawaii.
Yep.
So that's the picture I just shared with you of the people that were working closely with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at the camp, which includes the veterans. Joseph George is one of the veterans in the photographs with the politicians and Vets Respond. Here's Joseph George. Oh, sorry. This is Jonathan and Vanessa. This is a post he made with Vanessa Bolin Clemens, the same charlatan slash medic, quote unquote medic, that they used in the movie. They recycled her for the Women's March, for International Women's Day, excuse me. And you see people marching there, including Jacelyn Charger, one of the indigenous youth. And of course, they were all heavily involved with the veterans. This is a post that was made on Jonathan Klett's page. This is the same picture Jonathan Klett used on his movie page that I just showed you at the very, very bottom of the page. And one of the people commenting is Joseph George, who was with the Veterans Respond, as you can see right there from his profile. And who were all these folks hanging out with in addition to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at the camp? Why, it was Tulsi Gabbard. Remember, she was there too? There's Jonathan Klett in the picture. He's the one standing next to the bearded guy. And the bearded guy is Jay Ponte, the guru that helped raise money for the bus that was taken to Tijuana with Yes We Can. There's Tulsi Gabbard, and behind Tulsi Gabbard is the felon, the criminal, the anarchist, the Antifa leader of the Border Support Network, Evan K. Duke III. And next to him is Joseph George. Joseph George, the guy that was commenting on Jonathan Klett's picture. I can't remember the name of the female veteran that is next to them. I used to remember her name. And then, of course, we have sexual abuser, drunk, and
Car stealer.
car thief, and property damager, defrauder, Ed Higgins.
Ed Higgins.
Ed Higgins, yeah. Yes, that guy. That POS in the picture with this group. And remember, folks, that Ed Higgins wasn't the only one accused of sexual harassment. Chelsea was later involved in a rape of one of her co-workers along with Jordan Sheridan. And here, Jonathan Klett is proudly pictured with both of them.
Wow.
That's who they were hanging out with. But lest you think that Jonathan Klett, Maggie Day, and all of these people that I have been reporting on for so long weren't all working together, let me show you this post. This is the post of Jonathan Klett. And here it is, the post of Jonathan Klett. I need you to scroll down. This is now February 28, 2017. That's after they had just closed the camp, okay? So he is talking about, he starts it off by saying Doksha. I don't know if you noticed that. And he is talking in, that's Lakota, by the way.
I see.
He's not an Indian. He's a white man. But all these people wanted to play Indian so bad, they definitely adopted the lingo. And if you scroll down to the people commenting, I want to show you who were the people. Ryan Vizens.
Oh.
Ryan Vizens is one of the people that defended the hoax of the guy that Marcus Mitchell, when he pretended that he got shot in the chest and he defrauded people online for over $4,000.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Vizens and his surrender, what was it called? No Spiritual Surrender page, platform, media platform that was created at Standing Rock, attacked yours truly just for bringing up the fact that this was a fraud. Here's somebody else that's listed. Keep going. Scroll, scroll, scroll. And you will find that there are a bunch of people. Oh, there's Doug McLean. Doug McLean is also involved in the Border Support Network. He was one of the people on the Homeland Security watch list. Mark Tilson is another person. He was with 3P. What was it called? The art group that was at the camp.
Yep.
I can't remember their name
Me
right off
either.
the top of my
Me
head.
either.
Diana Moxley was one of the people that got arrested and ended up at our home. And if you keep going, you will find that Angela Bibbins, one of the people that was on the Water Protector Legal Collective, that I communicated directly with about the arrest of Kathleen Bennett, who ignored all of that, was also on this list of people he was communicating with, as was Prolific the rapper, one of the drone pilots. And another DJ rapper, just like Grizz, just like so many of these people. And finally, that's all we have. There are a lot of people that I knew had some knowledge, had some involvement, had something to do with the horrible, heinous crime committed against Kathleen Bennett and her mother. And it included Jonathan Klett, and it included all of the people that apparently are going to be featured in this film along with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I can't imagine that she didn't know exactly what went on. I can't imagine that she, like Wes Clark Jr. and so many of the other people that were going to use that story as a springboard for their heroism at the camp, and a springboard for their work with vulnerable groups in Border Support Network, in the caravans, in the murdered and missing Indigenous women's groups. I can't imagine that she didn't know, that she had nothing to do with what happened to Kathleen Bennett and her mom. And they all hid it. They all kept it silent because they were protecting the reputations of these politicians. And it makes me want to vomit. It makes me sick to my stomach to know that these people's climb up some proverbial political ladder was more important than the lives of two vulnerable Oglala Lakota elders. And they claim to protect the sacred. And this is exactly why I have called them the hypocrites that they are. Not water protectors, not protectors of the sacred, not protectors of the vulnerable, but instead criminals and hypocrites. You heard it from me, a Mexican Crossing Lines. Thank you for being with us. You've been listening to 88.1 FM, KPPP-LP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. I want to thank my co-host, Duke Gomez-Schempp.
Yes, I thank you also.
And thank you all for your support. Please share our show. Have a great evening, and God bless you.